After a day of rest, I saw what we did before, like this this text is looking very badly. So very quickly, I want to fix that. Let's use the Control P hotkey to open our widget blueprint called Level Start Quest. And I'm going to do an even simpler animation, but it should be a little bit more tasteful. This instead, what is it? The border. The anchoring is fine. Let's again click on the animation. Here is the left top bottom. Okay, so for this part, I want my border to, well, let me just delete the keyframes here, here, just to get the final location. And now here, I'm going to put the position. Let me change the position to here. The position to 150. And click on Add Keyframe. Now the animation should have done its thing, but let me move this keyframe to the 1 second mark, just to have something like this. Right. And maybe it's not fast enough. Yeah, so instead of 1, I'm going to put it at 2. And I'm doing it like this because I know my sequence that we created lasts 5 seconds. Right. Now, here at the 4-second mark, I'm going to go here in, where is the opacity that I'm looking for? Render opacity should be around here. Render opacity. Here it is. Click on the plus button. Now the animation here, we should have somewhere our render opacity. No. Okay, if it doesn't show up, and I will dock this in the layout so I don't need to open it back again. Yeah, if for whatever reason this button doesn't work, and now it's working, we are able to add this channel just by adding the track and searching for the render opacity. And yeah, I think it would be the render opacity of this border. Render opacity, there it is. Right, so let's go to 1. And here on 1, I will change the render opacity back to 0. And I will create the keyframe. So now our animation will look like this. Yeah, and let's not start at 1. Let's start with the movement of the offsets. Okay, so and you can leave this here, but I just want to have my tracks in the correct location. Okay, so let's press play, and now we have a little animation that it's a little bit more tamed than just a text flying through the middle of the screen to the corner. Right. I just wanted to do that. And let's remove let's unselect the animation here. And let's select the border and make sure that the render opacity is at 0. So that whenever we, save and compile, whenever we press play, we won't be able to see it until the reward shows up in the level, and then we have find a reward to win the game, and that can stay, or you can make it disappear if you like. I will let it stay because it's the main objective of the game, and it's the not only the main objective but the current objective. So might as well leave it there. Now with our game working, the last step that we need to do is package the game. A packaged game will let us share the game to anyone that wants to play it. Let me search for the game folder with all the files. So just right click on any folder and show in Explorer. Here in the Explorer, we have our content folder, and inside of it, we have the, and this should be section 4, but okay, the folder of our game and the file structure that our Unreal project has. This folder, if I select everything here and go to properties, you will see that it has some heavy size, right? 24 gigs for what we have is not exactly acceptable, although it's the trend and that games are getting better and heavier. It shouldn't be like that all the time, but that's the trend because it's easier to download heavier file sizes. Right, but this is our project folder. This doesn't mean that we can share this. If we share this, the content, and if we share our uProject file, this will mean that another developer can get access to the editor and start making all sorts of changes. It becomes almost their own project. And if someone with ill intentions were to get a hold of that, they can probably copy all of your game. They can just reskin it and then they have their own game. So there's no reason for you to share this unless it's with your own development team. Now, if I want to share this game, maybe for a game jam, maybe for a friend to try it out, we need to package it. And a packaged game looks like this. This is the project, or well, one of my projects, a test project, that have been packaged. We have an executable, and this executable file, when we double click it, will open that game and will follow the rules that you have set up in your game mode, what map you have selected as the starting map. That should be your menu. If you don't have a menu, then you can go automatically to the first level of the game. And inside of it, well, you will have some text that there are just debug text. So we really don't care about this. You can even delete it if you don't have any use for it. We have a folder that has the engine, but the engine in a compressed state. And if you have disabled some modules here in the editor, then those modules are not compiled here and they are not adding extra weight to your project. And then we have the project that will have binaries saved if you have save files here like logs, configurations, and also the actual save files that can store data of your game. Then we have the binaries of the extra code that we have added to our game, and we have the content. But this content is compressed. It's compressed as a pack file, or well, multiple files, but the main one is the pack file. And inside of it, we will have all the textures, we will have the assets, the 3D models, the songs, the whatever asset that your game needs. And this pack file can get very big. You can also divide it into multiple pack files if you need to download not everything in one go, and it's even more useful whenever you're updating your game. You don't want to send a new pack file that has everything. You just want a pack file that has the the necessary updates. But in our case, we will just be keeping it simple, everything inside one pack file, and that's what it will be loaded, right? So let's learn how to make a packaged version of our game. It's very easy. We will only be covering how to do it on Windows, and yeah, mobile development needs a little bit more of research and mixing the technologies on how to package for Android and how to package for iPhone. Right. So let's go to um, yeah, yeah. You can either access it by going to the toolbar, and in the toolbar, if you go to, was it build? No, tools. Here we find the project launcher that we will be using for packaging our game, or it's also under the platforms button. And if you want to do a quick package, you can click here, but I'm going to teach you how you usually want to package your game if you're not using the command line. Right. Before you package the game, it's a good idea to go to the project settings. And in the project settings, you need to choose which one will be your default game mode. So let's go to maps and mode. Here, our default game mode was already set by us whenever we created the ARPG FPS game mode. So this is fine. But we also need to define which will be our default map for the game. Right now, our editor, every time it's opening the open world default map. But whenever our game opens, so whenever the game is packaged, we don't want to open that file. We want to open our first level that is called level open world 01. We do not have a menu level, so we are just defaulting directly to our game. So the first level of our game is this one. Right, that's the setup. We can close this, we can go to platforms, and we can go to the project launcher. Okay, I already have some profiles, but you can just ignore it. I will set up everything from scratch. So this is our project launcher. We can launch it on Windows, which is actually what we want. And we can even lower the packaging size, or well, our project size also, if in our project settings, which I forgot to mention, in supported platforms, we remove this check and only check for the platforms that we need. We don't need Android, iOS, Linux, Mac, tvOS. We only need Windows. Just like that. Now, let's create a custom launch profile. Let's click on Add. Let's create our custom profile. And in this profile, we can set it up as Windows release pack. And we can enter a description, but I mean, the name is usually the most descriptive thing that we can name here. Right. First is asking us if we would like to apply it to only one project, and exactly which project do I want to use, or if I want to use it for any project. I mean, in my case, usually I only have one type of profile, and that's any project, and I have just development, release, and pretty much it. So I'm going to select any project. So you can use this new profile with, well, any project. Here it's asking you, do you wish to build? I do wish to build. So let's build it. Now, detect automatically means that sometimes you're just uh, doing another packaging on top of a project that only changed in in the visual area. So building is more related to the code. I really don't need to build something if it hasn't changed at all, right? So that's what detect automatically would do. Now, I will always choose build because I have had issues in the past. I mean, I'm talking about Unreal 4, where I was using detect automatically, and even though I changed something, it did not build, and I was stuck with a project that looked new but was performing like the old one, and did not have extra functionality that I added. So that's why I'm always choosing build. Now you have build configuration, development, debug game, or shipping, right? Usually you will want development if you are constantly adding stuff to your game, but whenever your game is finally ready, you will want shipping. Shipping gets rid of a lot of extra stuff that lets you debug your game. So only use it whenever you are sure that your game is to, to in its final form, or at least in these releases final form, right? And in advance you will have like build UAT. I mean, we don't need it. Let's just leave it like this. Cooking means making the content uh, not exactly just compressed, but very easy for our engine to use it. What I mean by this is that if we try to access any content in our editor, you will find, for example, here in the sure characters, enemy, and we have this blueprint. Or better yet, where is our where do I have an asset? Okay, let me filter by static meshes. Better yet. Okay, so we have this cone or this extrude, right? If I wanted to edit this, if I right click on it and show it in Explorer, you will see that this is a .u asset, which let us edit it inside the editor, because the editor uses U assets in order to not only show me the 3D model, but will let me change the material, enable nano support, and all the options that we have here. These are options that we don't need during the game. During the game, everything's final. Nothing needs to change like that. So cooking the content will get rid of all the extra stuff that the content needed for it to be used in the editor, right? So cooking, if you choose on the fly, whenever your game launches, then it will start to process that content. This is very useful if you are doing iterative uh, packages. So you don't really want to wait the actual time that it takes for it to cook, but we will decide for using by the book because we want all the content to be cooked, and the cooking depends on the platform. The Android platform will read different file types than the Windows. Maybe in Windows, we will be using a video that will be a .mp4 or a .wma, but maybe for a Mac, they will be using the file type .mob. So that's also the job of the cooking part of our game. We want to use by the book also because whenever the game loads, all the content is cooked. So whenever we present it to the player, sometimes you will be able to see some graphic artifact wherever that you see the texture loading, right? And we don't want that. So cooking by the book. Again, cook by the book. Make sure to select the platform that you need it for. In my case, Windows. Again, only select the platform that you need because this will make your packaged game a lot heavier. Also, if you have multiple languages, you can add it here. Just make sure that English, in my case, cooked maps, you can either select everything here or not select anything. If you don't select anything, I believe all the maps gets cooked, but that's not a good idea. It's a good idea to always select the levels that you will be using. Otherwise, it's extra space waste. In my case, it's only level open world 01. I don't need a test or anything like that. Here in release DLC patching and settings, you will find that you can add like the name of the new release version, etc. DLC. We don't need to touch this. In advanced settings, you can add iterative cooking, only cook content modified from the previous cook. This can be very useful to have, like, again, cooking is only related to the assets. So it's only going to cook the new assets that you add, or the new changes that happen between the previous cook. I'm not using it because, I mean, thus far I have not had any problems with it. But I mean, I have more peace of mind if it's on if the project will only take like 20 minutes more by leaving this out. I mean, it's not gonna bother me too much, so it will give me peace of mind. But probably you could use it. I don't think it will have any type of problem. Here, a stage based release pack. This is the one that we may want to check. For now, no. But the thing that we do need to check is this compressed content, save packages without version. This is fine. And this, store all content in a single file Unreal pack. You can later on chunk it, like have different chunks of these packs, but and also encrypt it. But I'm just teaching you this simple setup. This should work in all the cases. Right. So cooker build configuration, we can also change it to ship it if this is a release profile, or you can leave it as development. I mean, won't make that much of a difference for this project. Now, package. How would you like to package the build? Okay, so the packaging part of the build is making all the files exist in another folder. That folder we can share it very easily by zipping it, right? So package and store locally, that's the one that we want. Here we want a directory. So let me browse for it. And I already have these data builds. This is the folder that I'll be using. Just a recommendation. Because sometimes file paths can get too big, there is a big restriction about it. I don't know exactly the number of characters that you are allowed to have in the path, but if your packaging fails because of that, it's really psychological or emotional damage, because it's failing for something so trivial, so simple. So make your build folder as near to the root of the disk. So in my case, it's just D builds. That's it. Now here, we can check, oh, this is the build for distribution to the public. This is not exactly very important, but very useful. I will click on check include an installer for prerequisites of packaged games. This will make your packaged game be a little more heavy on the size. So maybe it could add, I don't think it will add a gigabyte of information, maybe less. But if you are sharing it to a tester or a friend that doesn't do game development and doesn't work with Unreal and doesn't have certain .NET dependencies, or especially when the person haven't played any game, because most games install these prerequisites. It's a good idea to include it. So if you include it, you're ridding yourself of the problem that, oh, you tried to open the game and didn't open or crashed. So might as well include the installer for this. And yeah, that was the check that I wanted to show you for this part. Archive, I don't wish to archive. Deploy, I don't want to deploy it. So do not deploy. Launch, well, if it's not being deployed, it cannot be launched. I mean, you deploy it to a platform, that platform could be Windows, and then it gets launched automatically. I mean, I only want to package the game, so I don't need for it to be deployed, or I don't need for it to be launched. So these are the settings that I will be using. We can go back, Windows release package. You can create, and usually I create one that is for debugging or development, and for release. Now you just need to click here on launch profile, and then your game will start the automation tool, which starts trying to package your game. And let's allow it. Now, if it fails starting, this packaging needs a compiler to work, right? And a compiler will probably be added or downloaded if you have done some game development with code, right? So let me cancel it for now because I want to show you how to add uh, in case it says that you have an error because it couldn't be compiled or is asking you for a version of Visual Studio. The surest way to add Visual Studio very easily, and that Visual Studio installation will add all the needed things for you to package your game, is going to file, or excuse me, is going to, where was it? Was it here? Tools, new C++ class. And if you don't have Visual Studio, you will probably have a window here to add it. And you will have to install Visual Studio. And yeah, that will let you add C++ classes. And that will let you compile your game and package. If not, then for sure you can search for the last version of Visual Studio Community, which is free. And let me check. Well, right now I'm in 5.3 version of the engine, and here in editor preferences we should be able to see under source code, yeah, source code editor, yeah, it has support for Visual Studio 2022, and well, all of this. Right now, with your Visual Studio added and with your compiler working, now we can run it again, and you should be able to just see everything that's happening without an issue. I will pause the game and the recording, to show you the final result. And yeah, we covered these 3 steps very quickly. Building is for code, cook is for assets, and packaging is just copying all that information to its own folder for you to have that folder that can be shared with an executable inside so anyone can play the game. Now the packaging has finished. Everything is showing me green lights. So I believe this is okay. We can now search for the folder where we choose our builds to be in. And here you will find one folder called Windows. This is the target platform that your game has been packaged for. We can change this to the name of our project or to the name of our game. And now when we open it, we will find these debug files. I mean, they're the stuff that has happened. So we can just delete it. And we're seeing these three items, right? One executable and two folders. What I will do is close the engine. So let's close it so you see that I'm not using the editor. And then here, a RPG FPS, I'm going to double click and open it just to check that first that it's working and then the performance. So there we have our little cinematic, find the reward to win the game. And then we have it like this, right? So let's see. I mean, it is working. We have this little problem with the shadows, but at least the performance is good. Other than that, it seems that the enemies are not attacking me, so that's also an issue. Now, I will need to debug inside my game, but because I put everything to shipping, hoping that nothing will be amiss, then I cannot open none of the actual commands that can help me debug this stuff. So what I will need to do is, well, first Alt F4 to leave this, open the engine, then in my project launcher, I'm going to create another profile, right? So let's create custom profile. This will be Windows development, and this was package. For the project, any project, build configuration, development, this is fine, this is fine. Cook the content by the book, select the windows. This should be selected by default. English, the map, advanced settings, Unreal Pack, package, store locally, find your folder. Here's my directory, select folder. We don't need to check this, include an installer, also not needed because I'm only testing it myself. So we can leave it like this, and deploy, I will put to do not deploy. Let's back and use the Windows development package. And yeah, let's wait again. And because it's the second time packaging the project, it may be a little bit more faster. Right, so again, let's search for this project. Should be here again. This is the one. I'm gonna call it a RPG FPS dev. And make sure you change the name of the folder, because if it stays at Windows and then you package again, you may overwrite some stuff, and some stuff may tell the engine that it's already compiled or cooked when it isn't, and then problems can happen from there. So yeah, make sure to rename this. And now let's test this. And can delete this. Let's see what's happening. Yes, allow. You could not allow it, but it will still work. Okay, so we still have the problem with the landscape. To solve the issue of our enemies not attacking us, what I'm gonna do is go to build, and I'm going to select build path. This will, and it did it very fast because I already did it to test it. and this is the fix that worked. But it's going to build the paths that have the nav mesh, and we can press the letter P, oh, P to see the nav mesh, which in editor it was working correctly, but in our package game it wasn't. Doing this and again doing a little, oh, it's here, a little packaging through the project launcher here is going to solve that issue. Whenever you play it again, I already did it, it's here. And well, after having this, oh, and I had some debug text which you don't really need, but I was just checking that everything was working correctly, and it was. Now our enemy comes towards us. To fix the issue with the landscape, I told Mao about it and he gave me a few fixes that may work. Let's just take in consideration that you may not have this issue when you package your game in later versions, or you may. Maybe Unreal already fixed it, but just in case, I'm going to give you the fix. Right, so let's open the landscape master material. Oh. So Control P, M underscore master. Was it master? Was it landscape? It was landscape master. Let's open it. We're gonna change a few nodes here. Let's first right click and type make material attributes. Then we're going to replace the connections. I'm going to drag and drop them by holding Control. So roughness to roughness, normal to normal, ambient occlusion to ambient occlusion, and displacement also. Now we're gonna click on an empty space. Here we're gonna click the value use material attributes to true, and we're gonna connect this like so. With this, I'm going to apply it, and let's see what's happening in the world now. There we have it. I'm going to save it, and well, you guessed it, I need to make another build of the game. Again, make sure that in your build folder there is no folder called Windows. What's happening here? Failed to save. Retry. Oh, it's, no, I don't know why it would fail. Let's continue. Do I have two projects opened? I don't think so. Let me close and open the project back again to see what's happening here. I, I could also, if you usually that type of error happens when you have two of the same projects open at the same time and you're trying to save something that is being used in the other project that is the same project. But what I will do is open a level that is not using this master material. Now let's see if we can save it. Okay, so I'm going to close and open this project again. Yeah, and I just discovered what happened because I was testing stuff. I have my project open that it was already launched from here, like right clicking and launching the game. Yeah, so that's why I wasn't able to save my project. So yeah, I just need to close this and then I just need to open the project again, make the changes, save them. I will do that very quickly. So quickly that I paused the video and already did it. So I'm going to save it. Now it lets me save it. And with this change, now I can go to platforms, project launcher, and run our development package. Yeah, we can try it first as development and then we can do a release if needed. I did the build and now I'm seeing the results. Okay, didn't work. So let's try the second approach. The second approach is just removing the displacement, which is the thing that is causing the problem. I know it looks cool, but I mean, I want a level to be seen without those nasty artifacts. So again, I will open the M landscape master. And here, I'll just disconnect the displacement. Whoops, and I did not want to disconnect everything, just the displacement. So with that, let's save it. I'll just put it here in case I need to, to change it again. Platforms, and let's do the build again. So let's open the new packaged game and see if getting rid of the displacement fixed it. And it did. I mean, our level will feel a little bit more plain, but we may be able to get rid of that by adding some meshes there, more meshes to account for the loss or well, the loss of the displacement. But there we have it. Now, because this is the development version, I will try to run away from this dude. Here, we should be able to test at least a little bit of the performance. And I'm gonna actually close it and open it here. If I open the level, then when we press play, we can type the console command by using the tilde key or just by Shift F1 and typing it here. But you can type stat FPS and the FPS will show on the right top corner. So you can see that we are running at 60 FPS, but just take in consideration the engine scalability settings that you're using. Right? We press play. I see 40 FPS, 30 FPS, and it should dip whenever I start loading more of the map. There it is. And with more enemies on proximity or near proximity, then yep. Especially because the enemy has that trail and that trail needs to get compiled, to be processed the first time, well, to get loaded, then I will take a dip, but after that, whenever you reuse that same effect, then there won't be a problem with the FPS, right? I'm running at around 50 FPS in the edit. So let me close this and open my standalone version, my packaged version of the game here. Right. Again, I need that stat FPS console command. I can use the tilde key. You can press it multiple times to see what's happening there. Stat FPS, enter, and now we will have the FPS here. You will see that instead of having 50 FPS, we have 80, almost 90, but around 80. And when stuff is being loaded, I mean, I take a little dip, but it goes to 70 something. So even though I'm at the highest resolution here or at the highest quality, and I haven't done anything, my performance increases because, well, we are not loading everything that the editor needs, and you may even get an even better performance whenever you package your game for the released version of the game, right? But the release version, just taking consideration, you won't be able to have access to console commands. So the way that you test this FPS is through other tools, right? So we can retry the level and the level will work correctly. Great. Before ending the video, I just wanted to mention that if you want to have access to the console commands, as I said, is the tilde key, which is this one. But just in case you don't have it, or you're using maybe a keyboard with another language, then you can change the key. Just go to project settings, go to inputs, and here you should find the console keys. Here's the tilde, caret. I don't know what key is this one, but you can add your own key. Maybe you want to use, I don't know, semicolon. I don't know, whatever you need. Let me just delete this one. But that way you can have access even though your keyboard doesn't have the key that I'm mentioning. And then that, well, is the most commonly used if you are using a US keyboard. Right, so this will be the end of this game. We may do some live streams to add more functionality if there's some interest on it. Because, I mean, along the way, we have mentioned that there are a lot of stuff that you can add to this game that, I mean, it will make this tutorial even longer. But yeah, maybe live streams could be a way of adding more functionality and more interesting stuff that you would like to see. So make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment on whatever you would like to see in this game, or if you have a suggestion for another type of game that you would like us to make, that will also be very helpful to us. So yeah, I would recommend you to also see our other tutorials if you are looking for another game that we made that is almost, it was our longest tutorial, but now I don't know how long this tutorial will be. So you can also check the RTS game that I made myself. This is like the improvement of that development, because it's not only myself, but also Gigi and Mao are also contributing to this little game and teaching you how to do it. And if you're looking for a little um, little tips or maybe tutorials that are not this long, we also have a list of our tutorials, our beginner tutorials, where we will teach you everything that you're looking for if, well, we have the video on it. So yeah, take care and have fun developing your own games.